The way I like to talk about purpose would be that purpose is an honest intention to lead positive change. What does a brand believe at its core? What does that brand intend to do with that belief? What is that brand doing on the day-to-day to live that purpose in the real world or internally or externally, or how is it showing up to its stakeholders? So it's kind of that brand belief and then the intention and then the action.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, and you're listening to Soul and Science. Fast forward your marketing mind in about 20 minutes. All companies have a purpose. For most, it's turning a profit and increasing overall value. However, today's definition of value is changing. More and more customers are looking for brands that take social responsibility seriously and offer a mission that goes beyond profits. Today, I'm sitting down with a very, very special guest, my wife, Lindsay Harris. And we're going to talk about what it means to be a purpose-driven brand today. Lindsay is the Chief Purpose Officer at Tombras, an impact-driven creative agency that has created campaigns for FritoLay, ESPN, Samsung, and many other iconic brands. Before she was at Tombras, Lindsay was the editor for Campaign magazine and a reporter for Ad Age. She also leads the agency's relationship with the Tombras School of Advertising and PR at the University of Tennessee, which is focused on diversifying the next generation of industry talent. In today's episode, you'll learn the difference between leading with mission and virtue signaling. You'll also learn how marketing is changing to focus on more purpose-driven work. And you'll learn how a simple awareness campaign gained the attention of NBA players. All right, let's dive right in with Lindsay. All right, welcome to the Soul and Science podcast. This is an interesting one. I am joined by my wife, Lindsay Harris. We got married in Jamaica, June of last year, and she is in the biz, and we thought it'd be fun to have her on the podcast. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thanks. Yeah, it's crazy. I used to be interviewing you and all other industry execs, and now you're interviewing me. It's kind of crazy.
Tables have turned, my friend. Give me the Lindsay Harris origin story for our listeners. Were you always in love with marketing and advertising, or did you fall into it?
Yeah, no, unlike you with your Kool-Aid man story, I was not always in love with advertising and marketing. I was raised in Hackettstown, New Jersey. So while I wasn't always in love with marketing and advertising, the fun fact about Hackettstown is that it's actually home to one of the original Mars chocolate factories. It's been making M&Ms and other chocolate treats since 1958. So any industry execs or agency execs who've worked on Mars have probably visited my hometown if they've worked on M&Ms in the past. The factory is actually 2 miles from where I grew up. My parents still live there. It used to smell like chocolate all the time. There's a lot of M&M pride in Hackettstown. When you drive through Hackettstown, on the Hackettstown signs, there's M&Ms on the actual signs. So yeah, that's just a little fun fact.
Do you still like M&Ms, or are you sick of the smell of M&Ms?
Well, I love them. And as you know, we always have them in the house.
And how did you get into advertising then?
So I went to Syracuse. I studied magazine journalism at Syracuse. When I graduated, I started covering sports, local sports in New Jersey. So I was covering youth sports, high school, middle school. And then after that, I wanted to make the jump from living in New Jersey to New York City. So I wound up meeting Jonah Bloom, who used to be an editor at PR Week and Ad Age. And he told me about this job opening at PR Week for a reporter who was going to cover the CMO section. So I decided to apply to it, and then wound up being at PR Week for about 5 years, covering PR, but also marketing, which was why it was kind of a seamless jump from PR Week to Ad Age. And then when I went to Ad Age, covered creativity and media agencies, and then went over to Campaign to be the US editor.
So when someone goes to journalism school, is the idea that you're not sure what industry you want to cover, and it's just that you want to be a writer and a reporter? Or do you have an idea when you go to school, like what industry you might want to do?
I mean, I don't know how it is for everyone. Syracuse has very specific tracks. So it'll be like newspaper, broadcast, magazine, and et cetera, et cetera. So I picked specifically magazines. At that time, magazines were huge and everyone was buying magazines and, thought print would live forever, et cetera. So.
And when you sort of get your first job, it's in sports, then you go into creativity and more. And then were you at that point, this is the industry that I love and I want to stay in this industry?
It took some time. I remember seeing words like RFP and AOR, and I was like, what the F are all of these letters? What's going on?
Agency of record, request for proposal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what really got me into the industry was doing the CMO interviews. So I got to interview, like, the CMO of the NHL or Major League Baseball or NBA. So I was still, like, covering sports in a different way. And then I did more crisis comms coverage, which was just really fascinating to see, how companies handle different types of crises. So it was like a little slow burn, but I wound up really falling in love with the industry.
Your current job now is at Tombras, and it's a large independent agency. Is it much different reporting and covering the industry than actually working in it?
It is very different, but I love both. I feel like I learn something new every day, and I also was learning something new every day as a journalist. I really love the work I'm doing at Tombras, but yes, it is. It's very different. I didn't realize how much work goes into a campaign or a launch when you're covering it. It's like easy in a way to like write the story about the launch, but then to be behind the scenes and see how much actual work and how many teams work on a piece, it's really incredible.
What do you think the best thing about being in the advertising industry is?
I think it's seeing the work come to life. I mean, you can have a brief and an idea, and that idea can change and shift so many times over months, and then actually seeing it come out into the world and seeing people react to it. Like the Special Olympics work that we just did, that was a really long process where it was like 8 months for that to come to life, and then actually seeing it in the real world. And yeah, it's really amazing. So I think that's my favorite part.
What do you think the hardest part about being in advertising is?
I think it's kind of similar to a lot of industries. It's just making sure people are happy, right? Making sure your clients are happy, making sure the teams are happy, and everyone is playing nice in the sandbox. And advertising is also a grind, like making sure you're winning accounts and keeping your business. So
All gas and no brake. That is
right,
how I'd classify advertising industry.
right.
What is an ability you have that you're very confident in advertising? Like, for example, some people are amazing at selling ideas, or some people know exactly how to bring an idea to life. What do you think your particular skill is?
I don't know if it's a skill necessarily. I think something I see is the potential of an idea or a campaign, right? So especially like, with like World Vasectomy Day, right? It's a small nonprofit. I think not everyone at first was seeing the potential of what this campaign could be and why it was important. So I think I see potential, and I also push for it to come to life. And across the board, whether it's work or my personal life, I'm very passionate about what I do. So I try to infuse all the teams with that passion, because I just feel like if you're living and working and you're not being passionate about it, you're just not really living or working at all.
So your superpower is passion.
Yeah, I guess I would say that.
Your current job is Chief Purpose Officer at Tombras. Can you tell me what a Chief Purpose Officer does?
So it could vary from agency and brand, because it's, the title's getting a little more popular now. I can tell you what I do at Tombras. I work across disciplines to ensure that purpose is a core part of things like our client strategy and our campaigns, from creative and media activations to brand thinking and communications. Specifically for Tombras, what makes my role really unique is that I lead our relationship with the Tombras School of Advertising and Public Relations at the University of Tennessee. The reason why that is so important is because we are really focused on diversifying the next generation of talent and making tangible change to fix things around underrepresentation in the industry by starting at higher education. So our goal is to double the amount of BIPOC of advertising and PR students that enter the school and also graduate from the school. And we've seen really great success. It's just launched about 2 years ago. So right now, the diversity of the faculty alone at UT has grown from 29% to 53%. We have professors from all over the world. And then the freshman class of 2022 to 2023 was the most diverse class in the history of the University of Tennessee's advertising and PR program. We saw an increase in Black students that was 40%. We saw a 12.5% increase in Asian students. And we saw an 11% increase in multiracial students. So again, I work with, and as a chief purpose officer, I work with our clients and our nonprofit partners, but a big part of my role is also this Tombras School initiative, which I'm really proud of.
That's awesome. And you said there's a rise in the title, and I've seen this title not necessarily at agencies a lot, but I see them on the brands and companies. And I wonder if you have any insight on this. Do you think sometimes companies bring that title in to signal to maybe investors or consumers that they're doing something like good for social causes? And do you think they actually do those things? Obviously, it depends, but do you think it has real merit?
I mean, I can't speculate on a lot of what other brands are doing. I can say that I feel super fortunate to work at a company where we're really investing. We put money behind what we do in terms of purpose. And I would hope that brands are also doing that. I know that, the chief sustainability officer title is really popular at brands now. And they're doing things like operationalizing supply chains. So there's definitely some action being taken. So my hope would be that it's not just lip service and that it's actually a real role.
And, purpose has a lot of different definitions, right? There's like the purpose of a company. There's a brand purpose. There's purpose, which means you're doing social good in the world. There's purpose, which is working with purpose-based nonprofits. Then there's, for-profit companies that can do purpose initiatives. So there's a lot of ways to slice purpose. And my question is, which I will land, I swear, is when the economy goes down, inflation's up, right? Unemployment is up. Things cost more. Stockholders want better returns. The economy gets more difficult. It seems like when that happens, the purpose stuff gets much harder to sell into the for-profit brands. It can sometimes be the thing you were like, we'll kick that into next year because it seems like a nice to have, but not a need to have. Have you seen that or?
Yeah. I think you pretty much said everything already.
Good. I guess then my question would be, how is the best way to sell purpose-driven work to brands?
Okay, so the way I like to talk about purpose would be that purpose is an honest intention to lead positive change. So to me, it's a combination of a brand's societal role with its core benefit or its service offering to consumers. And it's not, or it shouldn't be something that's tacked on or added on. It should be
an honest intention to drive societal
an honest intention to lead positive change.
Positive change. Okay. That's clear. I like that.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's not something that should be tacked on or a division of an organization. It should be built into the overall business strategy. So it helps guide prioritization and innovation and creativity and to create value overall for all stakeholders. An interesting way to think of it is that you start with a brand belief. So what does a brand believe at its core? And then from there, what does that brand intend to do with that belief? So is there a cause or a need it's looking to fill? And then after that, it's what is that brand doing on the day-to-day to live that purpose in the real world or internally or externally, or how is it showing up to its stakeholders? So it's kind of that brand belief and then the intention and then the action.
And do you think that brand belief, when you look at a company and you might say, I know that this company's published their values or what they believe in, that is a way to make it honest and make it part of their DNA. So they're not trying to like bandwagon hop onto whatever people are talking about at the moment. It has to be like real and authentic and inherent to the brand, whatever they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, you can publish your values or your mission statement, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't jump on a cultural moment. It really just depends on what your values are. And where you have permission to play in.
Give me one or two examples of the best purpose work you've worked on in your career that you're most proud of.
I mean, most recently, absolutely would be the Special Olympics. I'm super proud of that work, and we are extending that campaign that just launched into this year. So it'll be a global activation launching around springtime this year. So what that was the word special sometimes has a derogatory connotation. Around like 72% of US Americans have said that they've used it in a negative way. But when it comes to sports, you hear so many sports announcers and ESPN announcers saying, oh, like, that player is special, that team is special. So it's often used to describe these once in a lifetime extraordinary moments in sports. So we wanted to bridge that gap, so why are Special Olympics athletes not seen in that light, right? So we redefined the word special with an actual definition on the back of a sweatshirt and the word special on the front. And we worked with two Special Olympics athletes, Maddie and Joshua, and like use these huge billboards in Times Square to put up images of them. Maddie is 4'6", and she could power lift 1.5 times her body weight. So just incredible. So we had these images that are like, deadlifting 1.5 times my body weight. That's special. Things like that. Or Joshua has run 17 triathlons and he's 17 years old. So 17 triathlons before the age of 18. And he almost wins every single one. He is an incredible athlete. So working with these athletes was just really amazing. And then we didn't really even anticipate how much this would take off, but we had NBA All-Star Damian Lillard wear the sweatshirt to the game versus the Heat. He's on the Milwaukee Bucks for free because he loved the sweatshirt and he loves the Special Olympics. And then we had a bunch of Houston Texans wear it.
So that's a great example of like, you're not doing a campaign for Special Olympics. You're doing an idea to redefine what the word special means in culture. So it's much bigger kind of swing than just doing like a 2-month campaign for Special Olympics. It's a much bigger concept, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose is like, it's a label that we all should want to wear. So when I wear my special sweatshirt, it's like, like, fuck yeah, I am special. Ooh, sorry for cursing. F yeah, I am special.
You can curse on this podcast.
Oh, great. So, it's a label that we want to wear, not something that's like, oh, Special Olympics, I'm not going to wear the word special because it might have a negative connotation to it. But it's like, yeah, I am special and here's why.
I love that. That's such a great idea. Do you have an example of maybe something you didn't work on or your team didn't work on of a brand doing a great purpose-driven campaign?
Yeah. So this is one of my favorites and it's pretty recent. It's from Lacoste. It launched in 2022. They worked with Theo Curran, who is a quadruple amputee and a Paralympian, to create a adaptive clothing line. Wow. And they not only created it with Theo, but they actually named it after him. So it's called the Theo Curran Collection. And I just think it's incredible. The clothes look really cool, but it's also adaptive clothing. And it just really focuses on that representation issue. So I absolutely love that. And they actually are extending it this year, and they're going to be giving some of the profits to 3 athletes in, I believe it's Europe, North America, and Brazil. And these 3 athletes in particular have really, really like special stories and incredible stories. So they'll be extending that line. But I just love the fact that they created a line of clothing. So like I said, just having that representation for other people who are Paralympians or other people who have physical differences to be able to see that, I just think is amazing.
Do you think a lot of brands in the purpose space might bite off more than they can chew when it comes to purpose? Like trying to be everything to everyone, and then their values or their company mission gets diluted because they're just trying to show the world that they're a good brand?
Yeah, I think that could happen. I think the ones that stand out are the ones that have a very clear, like the Patagonias of the world, for example, who have like a very, very clear brand purpose. But also brand purpose doesn't necessarily mean, you have to like save the world, or it could be what is your brand's purpose or what's your brand's platform. So your purpose might be to, create joy. Like I think M&M's is something like using fun to create a place in the world where everyone feels like they could belong. It's something like that. So I don't know necessarily think your brand purpose has to be like save the planet or save the whales or gun reform. Like it can be what your brand stands for. Like with Moonpie, for example, it's one of our clients. That platform is out of this world. So we have the permission to play in outer space. We could do anything relevant around outer space, whether it's the moon or the sun or stars, the eclipse or aliens. So we just have permission to be a little bit fun and quirky and weird with space.
But that's not purpose in terms of social good, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's 2 types of purpose. So there's like your values And then there's also like, what is your purpose as a brand? And sometimes they can intertwine though. So sometimes they can be the same or they can really mingle and sometimes they don't.
But do you think the chief purpose officer title is typically trying to do good in the world?
Yeah, I think it's probably like from what I've seen, it's more focused on how can this brand help, whether it's around DE&I or corporate social responsibility, things like that, more cause focused.
Do you see that